Lecture number 9, we talk about different aspects of project management. Again, let me recap. We started from integration management, where we discussed how to put pieces together and how to manage the whole thing to make sure that the project is actually something that we can control, that we can understand what's going on there. Then we discuss scope management, time management, cost management, all the different angles from which you can look at the management. Today we have a lecture about procurement management, and this is one lecture before the last one. The last one will be about stakeholder management, where we will discuss how you as a project manager should manage relationship with other people. But today we discuss how you can manage money, how you can manage external contracts when you as a project manager will have to pay money to other teams, to other companies, which will do something which your project needs. And in most cases, it's going to be subcontracting of software development. So imagine you are a project manager, you have, let's say, 10 people in your team, and you cannot hire another 10 people because that would take you half a year or something. So then you go to an outsourcing company, an external company where they already have these 10 people and they can give these 10 people to you right now. You sign a contract, you pay them some money, you pay them more sometimes than you would pay if these people would be sitting in your office, but they do some work for you. So they develop the software which you need. That is called outsourcing, which is quite popular in software development business. In project management, in PMBOK, we manage this through procurement management, and we will discuss how you do it. So as usual, we start with questions which you are going to answer now. Question number 1, you want to sign a contract. You want to contract a new external team of programmers, just like I just explained to you, for 3 months sub project. What type of contract is the best fit? There's 4 types of the four names which I suggest you to choose from, and you may know some of them, you may not know some other of them, but try to pick what you feel is the best name for a contract which you sign if this is a team staying with you for 3 months sub project. Question number 2, in the middle of a project, you tell your external fixed fee team, pay attention to this, that your in-house team will review their source code every month. So imagine you have a team working with you and you're here, they are maybe in another country and they write some code for you, and then you start asking them, you want to see what is the source code there. Not when the project is finished, then they deliver you everything, but you want to make intermediate reviews. So you want to take a look at what they do and how they write their code, but they don't like it. So they protest. They just say, we don't gonna show you the source code. We just don't like it. We don't like to be checked. We don't like to be supervised like this. And it happens. It happens actually a lot. So software teams, they're not very comfortable when other teams ask them to show the code. So what do? First, you cancel the contract with them. If they say so, they're so stubborn, okay, bye-bye. Maybe you pay them extra. It's also an option. So you give them more money for letting you review the code. Option 3, you let them review your code. So you say, okay, I'm going to look at your code, but in exchange, you take a look at my code. So to be comfortable. And option number 4, you review it, but don't make any comments. So just don't criticize them, because this is what they are scared of. So you just look at what they do, understand how they write, make your own conclusions, but don't criticize. Question 3, in the middle of a contract, a freelance programmer who you hired before says that the code he developed for you is his intellectual property and you cannot modify it without his permission. So he's writing something for you, but he doesn't want to allow you to make changes to the code. So he says, keep working with me. If you want to change something in the code which I gave you, you come to me. Don't touch it because it's my intellectual property. I made it. So what can help you to prove the opposite? How can you prove that this is actually my code? This is our code, which belongs to our team, not to this freelance programmer. So you can try to use software license, which is attached to the code. You can try to use work for hire contract, so-called, which you can show him and that will prove something. Or you can show the Telegram discussions and say, look, we discussed this, so that kind of proves something. Or you can show the Git history. So what will help you? What do you think? Question 4. You organize a tender between a few software outstaffing companies. What is outstaffing? We'll discuss later, but now just try to give the best answer. What is the key metric you should pay attention to? You have a number of companies and they all show you some metrics, and these metrics are, let's say, dollars per hour, so how much they charge per hour of work, or maybe they tell you how much lines of code they write every day. That's another metric. Or maybe tell you that how many bugs you're going to see in the releases which we make. So we're going to produce new releases of the software, and there you will find certain amount of bugs, probably no more than, and then some number. That's another metric. Or maybe there's going to be margin per dollar. So they will tell you how much they charge the extra fee for every dollar in the which you pay to programmers. LOC means lines of code. I see you're asking this. The metric number 2 is lines of code. This is the metric very popular in software development territory, in software engineering. LOC. Question 5. What is the main reason for software outsourcing? What is the main reason for software outsourcing time and material project failures? So imagine you have this time and material contract, which you may not know now, but I will explain it to you later. But imagine you have a contract where you pay for the time and material. So you pay to people who spend some time and they use some materials, and you compensate for all of that, and they write code for you. So what could be the main reason for failures? So why these contracts they fail? 4 options: cultural mismatch, so just different cultures, different countries, different places, different cities. The cultural mismatch is one of the reasons for sure. Reason 2, leakage of talents. So you have talents, you have people there who you contracted in another company, but they just go somewhere else. That's also another reason of failure. Poor specifications. So you wrote something, but specifications are not clear, and that's why contracts they fail. Misalignment of objectives. So you just think in a different objectives. You have one objective, you want to finish the contract, you want to get the project done, and they want something else. So what do you think may be the reason for failure? Question 6, that's exactly the same question as before, but it's a different type of a contract. It's fixed fee contract and exactly the same list of failures. So think in this case, what may be the primary reason for a failure? Question 7, which open source license doesn't allow you to use an open source software in a project that you sell? So you have a software that you develop and you sell this software. Inside this software, you use some library, you use some framework, some other software, which is open source, which has a license attached to it. So which of these 4 will not allow you to do this? Will not allow you to take the open source software, put it into commercial software and sell it as your own, because you will compile it, you will build it, and the user will not know what is inside. So which license will give you trouble? That's very relevant question for all programmers, and maybe most of you know the answer, but still I think it's related to the procurement domain, because you procure something even though you don't pay them, but you take from another team something and then use this product inside your project. So that answer will be interesting to answer. Question 8. You're planning to hire one software company out of 3, organizing a tender. You have 3 companies, you try to decide which one will stay with you, which one will get the contract from you. And then one of the companies, one of them, they come to you and offer you a personal cashback. So it means that your company, let's say you work in Microsoft, for example, and then it's a large company. So you sitting in Microsoft, you want to contract a smaller company where you get 10 programmers who will do something for you. And these guys, they tell you, one of these companies, they just tell you, we're going to get, let's say, $1 million from you, but you personally, as a manager, will get $100,000 as a gift from us. You know, it's a kind of a bribe. So they just suggest to bribe you in order to win the tender. So what are you going to do? There are 4 options. That's the question related to the ethical aspect of project management, which is very important. First, you refuse. You just say, no, thank you. Don't give me this cash back. That's okay, but I don't need it. Answer 2, you exclude them from the tender. You just say, I see how you behave. I see your your management and business practices, so we're not going to work with you. Just bye bye. Option three, you ask your boss for advice. So you just go to the boss and ask, what do I do? This is what happens. They offer me the bribe. So what's the next step? And option four, you accept the money. Just, okay, why not? We still give the contract. We still continue the tender. We still gonna get the software. So why not take some personal cash back? What's so big about it? So big deal about it? Okay, you gave your answers, and now let's discuss the right answers. But again, remember, the right means quite subjective. My personal subjective opinion about these questions. Question number one. You want to contract a new external team of programmers for a 3 month sub-project. 3 month sub-project. This is the key word here. It's going to be 3 months work. And what type of a contract is the best fit? So first, let's discuss these four types of contracts. Well, actually, there are only two types of contracts. So there's only this one is a type of contract and this one. This is just jokes. So no money upfront is not a contract. No money upfront means that you completely distrust your contract, your partners, and you just ask them to do everything before you pay them any dollars. It's not usually a matter of trust, but usually this is how companies may work. So you may end up in a situation where your company will tell you that this is the way we sign contracts. This is the way we deal with external contractors. So when they finish, we only after that we pay them. And actually, you have to be prepared that large companies, most cases, they work like that. So they expect their contractors to first finish the work and then you release the money. And you, when you become a manager in this company, again, let's say Microsoft, then you sit in Microsoft and you will be responsible for delivering this philosophy to the contractors. And for the contractors, for these companies, smaller companies, it's going to be quite hurtful sometimes, quite difficult to accept this fact, accept this reality that they will have to do all the work before they see the money on their bank account. And if the contract is long, let's say it's 1 year contract, then not so many companies will be happy about it. Of course, they understand that Microsoft has money. So the large company definitely has money on the bank account. So it's not going to be a case of writing the software for a year and then getting nothing because the company who has to pay just disappeared or got bankrupted. But still, it's quite risky for them. So usually people do not really accept that kind of term. So they try to negotiate a schema where there will be installments. There are smaller payments. Let's say we have a full contract for $1 million and we break it down into three pieces. The first piece we pay upfront. So it's not going to be no money upfront. It will be some money upfront. So we give some money to them upfront, and then other money will go in installments, another portion. And when everything is finished, we finish paying. It's just for you, for the information, what happens in the business of software development. This is fake it till you make it. It's kind of a phrase, a catchy phrase, which people say when they're dealing with startups, and then you don't have the software at all, but you promise it to the customer. You say, I have it already. For example, I created already the AI system which can work better than ChatGPT. And then you make a presentation of it, which is a fake presentation. It's not a real presentation because you don't have this software, but you make a presentation which looks like the software you have. So the client can click the button, see how it reacts, and maybe sometimes you even don't tell the customer that it's a fake version. It's not really ethical, like it's not really proper and correct way to deal with the customer, but sometimes it works. Sometimes people do it this way. So they present it the fake version and then they get the money and then they make it. And that's called fake it till you make it. So before you make it, you just make big presentations, you make fake version, and that's how you get the contract. It may work, just for you to know the name. And now we have two types of contracts. There's just time and material and fixed fee. What's the difference? So in general, there are two types of contracts which we have in software market. Time and material means that I contract a company, and in this company, there will be people who will be writing software. These people, let's say I contract a company with 3 programmers. The company is larger, of course. They have way more programmers, but they allocate me a group of programmers. And these people, these three guys, they work for me. They do what I tell them to do. And they have some salaries. So let's say this one gets $100, I don't know, per day. This one that gets $200 per day, and this one gets $300 per day, for example. So in total, they get $600 every day. And I have to pay this company $600 plus some fee. So let's say I pay plus 50%. So this is how much I pay. These guys, they sit there, and no matter what they do, if they just scroll Facebook all day long, I still have to pay 600 plus 50%. So I have to pay $900 every day, every day, every day, no matter what they do. I give them tasks, they do some programming. I don't give them tasks, it's my problem. So the company, this hosting company, let's put it this way, like this name, hosting company. So this hosting company is absolutely not responsible for what exactly they are writing, what kind of code they write. They're not responsible even for what kind of programmers they are. Maybe they're good programmers, maybe they're professional, maybe they're not professional. So all the company does, the company just represents me these people and says, this is the price. This is how much these people cost. And I either accept it, I interview them, I test them, I analyze how good they are, but in the end, I just accept it. And the company starts sending me bills, starts sending me invoices, asking, okay, pay me next day, next day. They can charge me every week, every month, every half a year. It doesn't matter. But what's important, if they fail the project, if these people, these three guys, they completely fail everything, they do not develop anything, they just make a lot of mistakes, they write a really crappy software, I pay. This is the contract. This is the way the contract is formulated. The only thing I can do is I can ask the hosting company to replace somebody and say, I don't like this guy, for example. He's very expensive and he doesn't produce the results I'm looking for. So give me another one. So the company will take another guy from here and place here and say, okay, sure, we have a replacement for you. And they will take this one and move to another maybe group, which is for another customer. So this hosting company, they just rotate people, placing them into different teams. But again, they are not responsible for the quality of the software almost at all. And this is in the contract. This is called time and material. Time means I pay for the time. I don't pay for result. I don't pay for the code. I don't pay for the bugs. I don't pay for the features. I pay for time. And material. Material means that they for example, need some computers, the laptops. So there are three people plus three laptops. So I cover the cost of the laptop. Or maybe there are some servers, or maybe they need some coffee in the office. So this is probably the material. So this is the extra which I pay, which means all the materials they need, plus all the fees, the security in the office, the cleaning in the office, all of that, I just cover that. That's first type of the contract. Another type is called fixed fee. That's the opposite approach. In the fixed fee contract, I just say, I don't care how many people you have. 300, it doesn't matter. I just pay you, I don't know, $500,000 for a contract. You give me in return, you give me the piece of software, which does, this is software, which does exactly this. So this is the specification. This is the money, plus I give you specifications, specs. So this is how much the software should do. That's what this is the requirements, functional requirements, non-functional requirements. I describe everything. And your job is to deliver me what I'm looking for. How you do it, do you need an office for this? It's your problem. Do you need programmers for this? It's your problem. You need these programmers to be good? It's your problem. I don't care. I only care about this, the result delivered. And that's a completely different setup. You understand that in this case, the company has to actually manage people. So the company starts being responsible. So how to manage, maybe the project manager will be required, definitely. Because in this case, look, there are three people, three programmers, and maybe no project manager. Just three programmers. And the manager usually sits here. The manager will be on the client side. But in this case, when the money is being transferred, I'm expecting the result. And in this case, definitely there'll be a project manager here. It's going to be the programmers, maybe three, maybe two. Maybe they will try to cut costs and instead of three programmers, put two programmers. So that's a different story. So you need to understand the difference between these two contracts, and they are the opposite of the spectrum. Sometimes there could be some combinations of this. So sometimes you may say, look, I'm going to pay you like time and material, but if your people just fail by the end of the year, completely fail, so you fail to deliver the critical features, then in this case, it's going to be some penalty for you. Or maybe if they complete the project by the end of the year, there will be some bonus for you. So that's how you kind of mix the two types of contracts. And that's how you put some motivation for the hosting company. So now they understand, okay, if it's going to be success, so it's going to be good for us financially. So how about we put some supervisor there? Maybe they have some people who know how to manage projects well because they managed them before. So they're going to give a supervisor there who will try to help these three guys. But that will usually create a conflict between these supervisors and this guy. Me, like I'm speaking from this position. So I'm a project manager, so I will get into conflict of their management because I want these people to be managed my way. They will try to manage their way because they start becoming financially interested. There's a motivation for them. So how to dance between these two types of contracts, that's a difficult question. If it's a pure fixed fee or pure time and material, everything is clear. Now I hope you understand the difference. So what's the right answer here? You want a contract for 3 months project. So if you say 3 months project, sub project, what kind of contract? So probably this is going to be time and material. So you need for 3 months exactly. So it's not saying that you are looking for an external team to implement certain feature or implement certain module. So if that would be the description of the question, like we're looking to outsource the development of this library, then definitely it's going to be fixed fee contract. So we need exactly the library. But here the question is that you need 3 months. So you need time. And if you need time, you go for time and material. So my management, my responsibility, they just give me hands. They just give me programmers who will listen to me every morning and I will tell them what to do. They will not care about the management. They will not care about whether the project is successful or not. They're just coders. They just write code. Coders, testers, designers, everybody, but not managers, usually. Question 2, in the middle of the project, you tell your external fixed fee team, now you understand what it is. So we deal with fixed fee team, that your in-house team will review their source code every month. So imagine you promised them already $500,000. And in the contract, you said, you deliver me the result, I pay you $500,000. You didn't say that I want you to write code sitting in the office. I want 5 programmers to be there. You didn't say that because it's fixed fee contract. You just told them, give me the software, I give you the money, you give me the software. But then you see what they deliver because usually there is an integration between teams. It's not like you outsource the contract and then you just wait for the result and it shows up by the end of the year, and then you just look at it and say, oh, maybe there is something that's not exactly what I was looking for. It doesn't happen this way. What happens is that you interact with the team on a regular basis. So they show you what they do, you kind of look at it, you try to integrate it into your pipeline, you try to check the quality. So it is logical, it's reasonable to check the quality of the source code because eventually this code will become your code. And this code, after they finish the contract, you're going to take this code and you're going to be the owner of this code from now on. So the request sounds reasonable. But sometimes companies, they refuse to do that. They don't like it because they feel that this is something that hurts their professional ego, let's put it this way. So they become uncomfortable. And that's your problem. It's going to be your problem as a manager of this contract. You have to find a way how to deal with that. So first of all, of course, you try to be extremely professional and polite with them. So explain them that you're not trying to blame them for the low quality. You're not trying to jeopardize the contract. You're not trying to cancel the contract because of low quality. You're trying to help. So you're trying to provide information which will help them to deliver the best quality in the end of the project. Second, it's better to instead of asking your team that your in-house team. So instead of asking your team to review the code, it's better to hire some external reviewers. The reviewers who will review their code, but they will not be representative of your company. You will just say that I hired that team, which will review your code. In this case, you kind of you will show that you are interested in the objectiveness of this process. You're interested to know the truth. You want to know what's really going on instead of just blaming them and subjectively reviewing what they do. So there are many like ways. I have a blog post in the end of the lectures. You can read it where I explain how it should be done, but it should be done. So you absolutely must have so-called external reviews. And it's not only for contractors. Even if you develop your software internally, then it's still very good practice to have somebody from external team, somebody from outside of your company, somebody outside of your group to take a look at what you do and regularly provide some feedback. This is invaluable, like it's very valuable contribution to your software development pipeline. Because when you develop it internally, you only know what you know. You only have the opinions about code, which are your opinions. And the longer you work, the more subjective your opinions will become. It's better to invite somebody from the outside and get objective opinions from them. So what's the right answer here? So cancel the contract, definitely not the option, because probably if the contract is fixed fee and now you're in the middle of the project, you ask them, so it means that you're trying to introduce something new, not something which we had in the contract. So probably canceling the contract, it's going to be only your fault that you signed the contract without this requirement. Let them review your code, your in-house code. It's more like a joke, so it may help. Actually, it may work. So you just ask them to, to be fair. In order to be fair, in order to be equal, I check your code, you check my code. Maybe it will work, but it's just a joke. And here, review it, but make no comments. This is not good. This, like, you're sneaking into development process. You're looking at the code they write. You make some opinions about it, but you don't tell them this opinion. So eventually, this information about your opinions, they will leak. So it will get into their ears, and they will be absolutely not happy knowing that you're checking the code, but not telling them what's going on. So the best answer is pay them extra. So give them money. Tell them, okay, we understand it was not in the contract. How about we pay you for every review? They will be interested. It's extra money for them, always better, always good. And at the same time, it will show to them that you understand that will require some effort from them to be more prepared for external reviews. Question 3. You have a freelance programmer who, that's a typical situation, very popular. I've seen it many times in my life. So if we find a freelance programmer, in the beginning, everything is good. All external companies and contractors and freelancers, they're perfect in the beginning. They're super cool. They're super responsible. They're super loyal. They all look the same. The problems start later when they deliver something or don't deliver something, but later. And this is one of the examples. So the freelancer will believe that the code that he wrote actually is his code, not your code, but he's the author of the code. And many people, many programmers believe it this way. So they just feel it that the code they write is their code. And it's hard to explain to them that this is really not true if they sign a contract, the proper contract, which says that your code is not your code. They sometimes think that the ideas that they put in the code also their ideas, some inventions, some new principles, new concepts, new approaches, which they create while they develop the software. They believe that this stuff belongs to them. But this is wrong. This is not how it should be. And this is the only right answer. Work for hire. This is type of a contract which we sign with external parties, specifically with freelancers. And it means that you work for hire. It means that usually in this contract, there are clauses, there are statements which say that everything you create, everything, including ideas, inventions, new algorithms, new pieces of software, new everything belongs to us. And it's really important to explain this to freelance programmer in the beginning. But usually people miss that. They just sign the contract and they start working. But in the middle of the project, you get into this kind of a trouble. So Telegram discussions is not going to help you in court. You may say in the court that we actually mentioned to this programmer that you work for us. It's not like you are making some open source and then you put the license on top of your work and then we take your code with the license attached to it, and then in the license we read what's there, and then we decide whether it's yours, whether we can modify it or we can resell it and all that. No, this is not the case. We contract you, so everything you give us is ours. Software license may work, like I said, in the case where you work on your own cost, on your own money as a freelancer. You develop the software, then you attach the license, and then you give to me, and I read your license. I'm a buyer in this case, not your uh, not your contracting partner. I'm a buyer of your user, a buyer, a consumer of the product, and then I make a decision whether I can use it or not according to the text in the license. So discussions will not help you, definitely. Git history, well, Git history may only help you to prove in the court that that the programmer was actually um, actually, the Git history may help the programmer. So if the programmer in the future will decide to go to the court and say that he was actually contributing to this code, for example, there was no contract. Let's say you were not smart enough and you didn't sign this contract, so you nothing. And then the freelancer will be able to go to court and say, I was actually making changes there. I made my commits. So look at the Git history. So I am one of the authors of the product. They didn't sign a contract with me, work for hire contract. They didn't put these statements in the contract. So I assumed, like it was maybe my mistake, but that was an honest mistake. So I assumed that everything I do, I'm a partner. I also invest my effort there, and that's mine. And then the court will actually be on the side of a freelancer. So the court will give freelancer the portion of your business. So this is your responsibility as a project manager to always make sure that with each freelancer, you have a contract. You have a contract, which is, Google it, you will find many examples of work for hire contracts. You organize a tender between a few software outstaffing companies. What is the key metric you should pay attention to? The tender, a number of companies, they stay in front of you. So what is the tender? What's important first is to understand what is outstaffing. Outstaffing is time and material. That's just another name for it. So outstaffing means that I have some staff, some people. Staff means people. So I have people in house. They sit in my company, and uh, and they have some staff, but I don't have enough. So I need some staff to be outside also working for me. So instead of recruiting these people, I just go to another company and I say, can you be my outstaffing partner? So you give me the control over your people, just like I explained to you before, time and material. So in this case, you organize a tender between a few companies. They're all going to be companies, these hosting companies. There will be company, another company, where people sitting there. And you are trying to buy these people technically. So these people will become your people. So how do you decide who is better in this case? Which company is better? Which company is more suitable? The first option, which is the most popular, and I think it's a mistake, to choose dollars per hour. So they will tell you, we charge, I don't know, $70 per hour for a Java developer. That's the price. They will tell you, we charge $50 an hour. And they will tell you, we charge, I don't know, $150 an hour. Three different companies, they gave you three different offers. And which one do you choose? Obviously this one, right? 50. It's cheaper because what? It's Java here, and Java here. It seems to be like the same product, but for a different price. But we, of course, understand that this is not the same product. So the product is different. And even if you interview these people, even if you talk to them, let's say you make a call with these people and you talk to one group of programmers, another group, and you will be more or less satisfied in all three cases. Let's say you like this company, you like this group, and you like that group. How do you choose? So of course we scratch out the groups of the companies, the people who we don't technically like. That's out of discussion. So before we had a few other companies, and then this was also Java here and Java here. But we had an interview and we said no and no. We forget about them. We only have three cases where we like the programmers, and still the prices are different. So which one do you choose? Then people say, well, of course we go for 50 because it's cheaper. Still, I don't think it's the right choice. I don't think so. I think it's a wrong choice because there are many other factors which affect which contribute to this number. So let's see what I think is the right answer. I think the right answer is this one, margin per dollar. So this 70, remember, it's time and material. So something goes for time, something goes for material. Let's say in this case, in the 70, they pay people because they have to pay something to the people, to the actual coders, to the people who actually produce the result which I'm buying. So I'm buying their hands. I'm buying their time. I'm not buying the hosting company. I don't really much care about the office security, about the cleaning of the office. It's something secondary for me. What I'm buying is the actual time, the work time of the people. And let's say in the case of 70, they pay $20 for programmers and $50 they charge on top, the margin. They charge for all the other things, like I mentioned, including the profit for the company. And in this case, where we have 50, they pay $40 to people and they charge $10 on top in order to cover the expenses and make some profit. So how do you think where people will be more motivated, where people will be more interested to work with you, where the leakage of the talents will be lower, where the turnover will be lower, how people will be in how which group will be more enthusiastic about your project? Definitely it's going to be this group. Well, here 20, yeah, definitely it's going to be this group. Because, or maybe let's say in this case, the 150, maybe in this case they pay, I don't know, $100 for people and then 50 for the fee. So you need to put this into account. And when you think about money, then think about the money that goes to people, and then compare it with the margin which they charge on top of that. That's the real money. That's the real amount. And of course, the hosting company will try to hide this information from you. The hosting company will not disclose you that. They will not tell you how much they pay their programmers. They will not tell you the real salaries of people. So your job as a project manager, when you sign time and material, you need to insist. You need to say, I am looking for a partner who will be honest with me, who will be transparent with me, who will show me what's going on there, because I actually care about the people. I actually care about the programmers who I hire, not about your company. I'm not so much interested in making profit for your company. I want to get these people on board so they will work with me. So tell me how much you pay them. Tell me their salaries. And in an ideal world, they should give you the transparent invoice when they show these are the salaries which go to people and this is the margin which we charge on top. And you should be able to communicate with these programmers and ask them, what is the real salary you're getting? I'm ready to give you some extra bonus, maybe if you deliver something with the higher quality. I'm ready to give you some annual bonus or something like this. So you should have, ideally, you should have direct relationship. So let's say it's me, the project manager, sitting here, and in the hosting in my company, and I should have a direct connection with these people, like this. So I should know. I mean, financially. Of course, they will have the connection over the technical questions. I will tell them what to do, what kind of code to write. But I also want to have a direct financial instrument to affect their motivation. So this is what you should be looking for the margin per dollar. How many lines of code per day they write? It's also interesting to know. This is absolutely not an interesting metric. I would completely ignore it and don't pay attention to it. Lines of code per day. This is interesting. If you ask them, okay, guys, how many lines of code your people usually write? So give me some statistics. So show me the performance, the productivity of your people. I want to take a look, and that will help you make the decision. But like I said, we already discussed with them the technical questions, so we're more or less sure that they can work according to our expectations. But still, lines of code per day, if they collect such statistics from the past, then that will be very helpful for you to understand who is who, which Java programmer is better than other Java programmers. Because, like we know, there are average Java programmers, and there are they call 10x Java programmers, or any language. It's not only about Java. So there are people who are extremely high performant, and there are people who are below average, and they all look the same on the surface. They all titled senior Java programmers. They all will promise you a good work. They all will answer your technical questions correctly. They all are professional enough and competent enough to pass the tests you give them. But productivity is not about the knowledge. Productivity is about something else. The productivity is how much people can deliver per day, not how good they answer questions on the interview, but how much they can actually produce every day. And that information can only be taken from, well, not only this metric, but this is one of the metric which defines the productivity of a programmer, lines of code. Of course, there are many other metrics which can tell you, which will give you hints about who you deal with. But lines of code is one of the most important. There's a question. Let me read it out loud. Probably if you care about the quality, it's worth mentioning the number of bugs. Yeah, the number of bugs is also important. So this is my suggestion, bugs per release. So you may ask the team, like, how many bugs you promised to me that the release will contain. So what's going to be the quality of the code which you deliver? But remember, we're looking for time and material. We're looking for programmers who will not be responsible for quality. So they will not be the people who build everything together and then they control everything and they manage the development process. Because bugs per release, this metric has a lot of factors that impact this metric, including the management, including the testing, including the QA, including the coding. So all of this, but you are only hiring coders. So how can these coders can guarantee you the bugs per release? They don't know how you do all of these things, the management, the testing, the QA, the design, the architecture, requirements engineering. There are many other things which contribute to bugs per release. If you would be hiring, instead of time and material, you would be hiring fixed fee team, fixed fee. Then you would say, yeah, for the fixed fee, we definitely want to know how many bugs per release you deliver. In this case, you would not care about the margin, you would not care about the dollars. It doesn't matter what's the margin. If they can, for example, make a huge margin for their company, they can make a huge profit for themselves and at the same time deliver you the high quality code. Perfect. Why do you care how much they pay their programmers? It's absolutely irrelevant for you in this case. But since you get time and material, you do care how much they pay programmers. Because if programmers are underpaid, then you can imagine what will happen. It will be difficult to manage them. Of course, you can manage them, but you will have a high turnover. So they will just quit, every second month. You will lose people. They will be replacing people for you. They will be getting new people from the market, but it will take time for you to to let these people join the team, to understand what's going on here. So it's going to be a lot of hassles there because people are underpaid. In general, when people are underpaid, it's not good for project management. It just makes project management more difficult. It's possible. You can even manage slaves who gets nothing, like zero. You just give them food and they work. It's also possible, but it's going to be very ineffective. You will waste a lot of management power, a lot of time on actually making sure that they do something instead of just breaking the tools. So it's a huge distance between a slave who gets zero and a professional, properly paid, very motivated financially, first of all, the programmer. So you should try always to shift your situation in your project to the second extreme, where people are well paid. But well paid doesn't mean that they're just getting a lot of money. I said it, I think, many times already, that you should pay what they deserve and only to who deserves. So paying everybody a lot of money actually is not a right approach. It's actually a bad approach because in this case you destroy the motivation of people who are better than other people. And in any team you will have better people, better performer, not better people, but performer who perform faster, who have higher productivity, and people with lower productivity. And you have to find a way how to understand who is who and give more money to high performers and give less money to low performers. And the more effectively you do this, the more precisely you distribute the money, the easier it will be for you to manage them. The management will be just done automatically if you focus on this distribution of money. That should be your primary concern. How to properly distribute money. In order to properly distribute money, you need to collect information about productivity. How to collect information? You need metrics. You need to think about metrics. We discussed this on previous lectures. So that if you can, as a manager, publish on a wall in the office the information about how much money every single person on the team received on the bank account last month, then it's the highest level of management professionalism, in my opinion. Only the super top managers can do that without a fear of losing people, without a fear of having conflicts in the team, without a fear of people telling that I can't work in this team when this information is on the wall. That's scary. That's wrong. I go work for another company. So make it the way that information is public and all the people understand it, accept it, and respect it. That's the top, is the highest level of professionalism. So here, to summarize, there are two different types of contracts. Again, remember, two different types. So don't mix them. So every time you have a contract, remember to ask the question up front. What do we do here? What do we deal with here? Is it time and material or fixed fee? And try not to mix them together. Question 5. What is the main reason for software outsourcing? Time and material project failures. You already know what is time and material. So imagine we have a team in a hosting company. They work for me. I pay them money. By the end of the month, they work, I pay. They don't work, I also pay. Remember, that's the setup. So what may go wrong? What usually goes wrong? What is cultural mismatch? Cultural mismatch, this is what a lot of people blame project failures on, especially outsourcing projects, when two companies are in different countries, for example, or in different, not only countries, but maybe different places on the earth. So you are in this time zone and another company is in Australia. So there's a huge difference in time zones. So how can we work together? And we have difference in the cultural difference. So some company may be in India, for example, and another company in California. And there are many research studies, there are many scientifically proven studies that show that people in different cultures, they have different attitude towards results. So what is result for an Indian programmer and what is result for a Californian programmer? That's two different definitions of result. For a person from Asia, from India, for example, or from Sri Lanka, or from that territory, they understand results as something which is more human oriented. So for them, everybody in the team is happy. That's the result. Everybody likes each other. That's the result. The boss is happy. The boss smiles. That's the result. For people from, for example, Germany or from Sweden or from maybe California, they understand that the software works. That's the result. Somebody is not happy. Somebody is crying. It's not so important. What's important is that we have the product. The product works. It satisfies the requirements. So that's my result. That's the result has been achieved. So, and this misunderstanding of the same paradigm, of the same concept, result, may create cultural conflicts. So the manager in California will just insist that they focus on delivering the features, even if we need to fire somebody, even if we need to make somebody unhappy, even if we make to punish some of the programmers, not pay them the bonus, and so on and so forth. But the Indian team will be extremely unhappy about it, and they will try to protect their people, to protect their environment against such direct actions. And because of this, actually, projects they fail. And there are many studies. You Google them, like Google for cultural mismatch in software outsourcing. You will see studies, comparison, because this problem is, I don't know, maybe 30 years or 40 years old. So software outsourcing started, I don't know how long ago, maybe 40 years ago, but when the internet showed up. When we got internet, that was maybe 30 years ago or something, maybe 30, 40. And that's where people decided that now it's time to outsource. We don't need to hire people in New York. We're going to hire them in Russia, for example. That will be cheaper, 2-3 times cheaper. And that was the primary motivator for outsourcing, just lower prices, lower expenses. Because in some countries we have lower expenses. In some other countries, like in New York, you have high cost of rental, for example, of the food. And if you go to India, then in India it's cheaper. The food is cheaper and the living cost is cheaper. And because of this, and at the same time you have internet, so you can easily transfer the files from New York to India, and the people are the same. So you can study Java here, you can study Java there. What's the difference? We both know Java, but you live in a much cheaper on much lower costs. You have way lower expenses, so I pay you less. So I don't need to pay you the salary like I pay to my programmer in New York. I can get two programmers in India for the same price as I pay in New York. This is how software outsourcing started, and that was the really good idea. Well, good or bad, but this is how a lot of software has been created in this model. Uh, but uh, uh, but cultural mismatch troubled us a lot. But this is not the primary reason for failures. Another reason is potentially is leakage of talents. So that means leakage of talents, turnover, where you get the people, and remember this is time and material. So we have people there. The hosting company is not responsible. So we got 10 people there. I started working with them. I trained them. I gave them the knowledge. I gave them access to all my data. I explained how the software works. They spend some time learning the system, and then they quit. Or maybe not 10 of them, but 5 of them quit. Why? Because they found a better job. Well, they decided to go to New York because in India they get lower salaries, so they just get the visa and go to New York. So I lost them. I lost this talent, and this is very typical cause of troubles in outsourcing territories. In the territories where software companies typically outsource, like I said, India, maybe Africa, Latin America, Russia. So these are territories where the expenses are lower and prices for living costs are lower. But since living costs are lower, since salaries are lower, people are more the, the human factor is important now because people move faster from place to place. They're not going to stay for long in the territory where they get smaller salaries if they know that if they move to another territory together with their family, then they're going to get higher salaries there. So we lose, the turnover is much quicker, and that may be a trouble if you don't pay attention to it in the beginning, if you don't plan for it. So when you sign, for example, a contract with a time and material company, you need to ask them, how more people do you have in house? So now I need 10 from you, but how many more do you have? And if the answer will be, well, we have in total 15 and we give you 10, then your probability of failure will be very high because they will not be able to replace people when these 10 people just quit. But if the company is bigger, for example, they have 1,000 people and you only get 10 from them, then of course it's a more stable solution because they will be able to easily replace people for you. When somebody quits or maybe the entire team just walks away, you still have the relationship with the company. They replace you the same day because usually large companies, they have people so-called sitting on a bench. That's how they call it. So they just, like in sport, so they're just sitting on a bench waiting for the work. They're not doing anything for the customers. They're just doing some open source development. They do some trainings. They prepare some internal software, some internal training materials. They just wait for the customer to come. And when the customer comes, then the outsourcing this outsourcing provider, they just can immediately find 10, 15, 50 people, 100 people, depending on the size of the company. They just give them to you faster. So leakage of talent is definitely one of the problems. Problem number 3, poor specifications. What does it mean? It means that you misunderstand specifications. So I want something to be done. I hire a company, I send specifications to them, they read the specifications, they start writing the code according to my specifications, and because I made a mistake in the specifications, in the end, they give me something that is not what I was looking for. This super typical cause of the trouble, but in case of time and material, it cannot be the problem, because in case of time and material, specifications are managed on my side, on the client side, not the provider side. Because remember, it's time and material. So I just hire them and I don't even give them specifications in most cases. I give them the backlog. I give them the tasks to do. I give them the programming problems to solve, the coding problems. They just write code. And if the specifications are wrong, then it's going to be solved here in the client company. So poor specifications is definitely a troublemaker for software development on all levels, definitely. But specifically for time and material setup, it's not so critical because this is not what is in the This is not what is staying between us, because specification usually it's like sort of a contract between the client and the provider. So I write down what I want, I give it to you, you read it, you implement it. If you make a mistake, I show you the paper and say you need to do it this way, so redo it, do it again. If you don't do it, I'm not going to pay you. And you will work on that, you will improve it, you will give it to me until I'm happy. But not happy, but until it satisfies the requirements, until it looks like it's written on the paper. But in case of time and material, I don't work with you like this. I just put you inside my team and we together manage specifications. So in case of time and material, this is not the trouble. But what is the trouble is this one: misalignment of objectives. Let me explain what I have in mind here. There are three players when we deal with time and materials. It's me, the client company, it's the programmers who sit there, and it's the management of the hosting company. And the management of the hosting company, they are sort of against my objectives. So my objective when I hire this company is to, as a business, is to implement the software and finish the project and maybe move to the next one. But I want to finish. I want to stop coding. I want to implement something and then stop coding. And when I finish coding, it means I stop sending money to them. So their objective is to make sure I never stop coding. So the hosting company, that's me, that's them, the hosting company, and this is the programmers who work for me. And this is the manager or the owner of the hosting company. So the money goes here, and then the money goes this way. So this guy wants me to keep sending money. I want to stop sending money. And that's the two opposite objectives of this business, which creates a huge conflict, which usually people resolve in a technical domain. So they will try to create code, they will try to do everything they can in order to hold you as a client, in order to make sure that you will keep coming to them again. So they will try to hide the code from you. They will try to make the code less understandable. They will try to, depends on their ethical standards, depends on their moral standard. But my experience tells me that these outsourcing companies, they're it's quite challenging to work with them because of this misalignment of objectives, because it's clearly visible that they are here to take my money from me for as long as I can pay them, not just take this amount, and then stop. They see that I have money, so they will try to develop. And as we know, we discussed this in the scope management section lecture, in the cost management lecture, that any software can be created using all the money that the client has and using all the time that we have available. Any software, even if it's a simple calculator, if it's a simple Tetris game, you still can work on that for years and years and years, because any software can become better, can be more tested, can be more stable, can be more beautiful, can be more integratable, can be many, many other things. So you can continue working on that. And this is what this guy wants. I'm a dark person here, a dark figure. So this is your enemy. I would put it this way. This is who is against you. These people are okay. They are with you. They want to do good things to you, these programmers, because they're programmers. We should understand that programmers in general, they like to write good code. Let's assume that. They cannot do that, of course. They are lazy at the same time. They're incompetent at the same time. But their internal desire is actually to write code, and they don't really care about this money. They don't really care about the money coming here, because this money coming to them, they are their salaries. And they will get this money even if you disappear. If you just disappear from the market, you don't pay anymore, but this money will still keep coming, especially if this company, the outsourcing company, is large enough. So imagine there's 1,000 people in this company, and it's just a small group of people working just for you. And you stop sending money to this large company. And these programmers, they will not suffer. They're not going to experience any troubles. They will be just moved to another project, or they will be moved to the bench, but their salary will be the same. They will be getting exactly the same money every month. So they don't want to cause any troubles to you. But this person, who is the manager, definitely want you to suffer. They want you to continue continue paying what you paid before. So that's the reality, this misalignment of objectives. And how to solve this, that's a very difficult question. Yeah, they will try to make you suffer. Yeah, to suffer, exactly. I see your comments. Exactly. So you will suffer. You will be in trouble because they are smarter. They see many guys like you. There are clients, all clients coming. And the job of this person is to keep the money coming, keep them coming, not stop coming, not finish projects. This is absolutely not my objective if I am the owner of the outsourcing company. My objective is to take all the money you can pay me, all the money you have, and then even take more. But never finish your projects. Never say that, okay, we finished. That's it. That's the release. You're done. Thank you very much. Close the contract, shake hands, and let's go our own ways. And now another example. Let's say we have exactly the same question, but the type of the contract is different. We have what is the main reason for fixed fee project failures? There was time and material, and now a fixed fee. Let me remind you how fixed fee works. You get the $500,000. I pay $500,000. I give the specification to them, and then I take the code back. And that's it. Bye-bye. No more money, no more coding. We just do fixed time and fixed scope and fixed cost software development. So what do you think in this case is the cause of the trouble? What will be the main problem in this case? I think the answer is obvious right now. It's going to be poor specifications. Because in this case, it's going to be important how precisely I explain everything. If I make the mistakes in the specification and I send $500,000 there, and they will deliver me something which is according to specification, but there is a mistake there, then I will go to court and then I will talk to them and I will fight with them, but that's going to be a disaster. And most of the cases which you can read on the internet about big failures of software projects, and you can find them many, like multi-million-dollar projects, they failed. And we have long history of that by large corporations, IBM including many large corporations. They failed in their history. They failed large projects for many million dollars. And in all of these cases, they were projects fixed fee, not time and material. Because in case of time and material, you will never blame the contractor. The contractor is just a trader of humans, just a slave trader. Let's put it this way. That's what time and material is. But if it's a fixed fee, then we expect this company to be professional, to be able to manage the project, to be able to deliver high quality result, and it's difficult. It's difficult because people don't know how to write specifications. We just don't know. They're not professional enough in this. The people on the client side, so this is the client, and this is specification coming there as a document, coming to the software company, and then in the end, I expect the piece of software to come back to me. So how to write this specification? It's a super difficult question. There are conferences about this. The conference is dedicated to requirements engineering, and still people make mistakes in this mechanism of writing specification, of how to do it right. So the general advice is that fixed fee projects are way more difficult to manage if you are the project manager. So signing fixed fee project, it seems like it's more effective for the business. It seems that you as a project manager should try to sign it this way and say, well, I pay them the money and they guarantee the delivery of the software. They don't guarantee. It's very difficult will be to get from them the software that you are looking for. They will be, in this case, spend most of their time fighting with you over specifications instead of writing the code. So instead of coding, they will always try to protect themselves against the potential court case where you will go when they will fail to deliver the software, and they will fail. So to make a software which completely matches the specification, I don't think it's technically possible at all. It's impossible. The question is whether this person will be reasonable enough to accept the software. And how do they know? How these people know that you're a reasonable person? They only know you when you were happy signing the contract, but they don't know what's going to happen when we meet in court, and how much more trouble you will cause to them if you if you're not such a reasonable person as you looked when we met. So they will try to do everything they can to protect themselves. How they will do it? They will, every email, every request, every recommendation which you will send to them, they will send through the change management process, through the change mechanism, change accepting mechanism. So they will look at the changes you make. They will open the huge requirements document. They will put it into the right place. They will say, let us re-estimate the whole project, because you send the requirements and you send $500, $500,000 here. But then the next day you say, well, I changed my mind in this specification. We need one more feature, or we need to remove that feature. They will say, wait, wait, wait. Now it's not 500, it's 501 and 3. And this is the new price. So how about you agree with this new price? And you will have to start the process of signing an extra agreement for the contract. And then it will take time. So you will need to meet again, to discuss again what needs to be done. Why it's 100, why it's 1,300 there? Why this is the extra? You will start arguing with them. No, let's make it 1,200. Okay, but that will take your energy. That will take the energy of these people, the energy of you. And then next week, again, next change, over and over again. So you will spend a lot of time on a reapproval of these changes, reapproval, rediscussion, renegotiation of the contract. And that's a hassle. And this is why most of the contracts, many, not most, but many fixed fee contracts, they fail. So I believe now, my experience tells me that now people are smart enough already in the business. They know that these fixed fee contracts, they are troublemakers. So it's better to sign time and material and just let these guys provide me the people. And this is going to be my responsibility what to do with these people. So you basically, in case of time and material, you remove the manager, their manager. You remove the entire management on their side. All the money people, all the managers, just let them go away and deal directly with programmers. It's more effective. Which open source license doesn't allow you to use some open source software in your product if you sell this product? Um, yeah, let me read the comment there. You're saying that many projects, they fail not even from poor specifications, but not perfect specifications. That's a reasonable comment. Yeah, most specifications are not perfect. Basically, none of them are perfect. So as long as you have some flaw in your specification, that's it. Then you have a trouble for fixed fee contracts, which is unresolvable in most cases. It will take tons of time, tons of efforts in order to find a clear resolution of this flaw. Yeah, so even if we have a specification, yes, if we have specification, if we have good specification, if we believe that the specification is good, we're still going to have a problem with fixed fee contract. Because like I said, imagine me being a contractor and you paying me money for developing the software. I will read the specification, but I will, before accepting your money, I will think twice, not twice, many times, what is wrong in this document? Where exactly you will be able to catch me by the hand and drag me to the court and say, he didn't complete this feature, he didn't complete this and that. I will be very protective. I will be very defensive. I will be very cautious about that. And I will spend a lot of time on negotiating the contract with you. And when we finally sign the contract, I will again spend a lot of time protecting myself against your new ideas and against your recommendations, against everything you tell me. Ideally, I would just close the communication channel between us and just sit there and just in a pure waterfall model, no agile, just develop what you paid me for and then show it to you in half a year and say, take it or leave it, but I'm not going to change anything because I did exactly what you asked in the specification. But this is not how software is being developed now. We all understand that this non-incremental process of development, it's just direct, it's a clear path to failure. Okay, let's talk about open source. So you know what is open source license, right? You have to know. So every time you write something for the open source, you attach some document to it. Basically, it doesn't need to be a document. You can even write just a few words about it, but you have to say to the people who use your software what you allow them to do with it and what you don't allow. And basically, the most of the questions are basically about a few things. So the question number one is, do you allow them to um, I would say, I'm not a big expert here, but do you allow, let's say I'm developing the software, so do I allow people uh, to modify it? So take my software, modify it, and give it to somebody else. Modify it plus distribute. So let's say I take the product written by Apache, and I change something there, and I say now it's not Apache, now it's Yegor Tomcat, for example. Tomcat is Apache open source library. So I say it's my Tomcat, not Apache anymore. So is it okay? That's the first question. Question number two, can I take it and sell it? So I take Apache, I put it into my commercial product and sell it and make money. So the people who developed Apache, they get nothing from that. I don't share my profit with them. I just take their software, put it into my code, and just sell it. So I make money, they don't make money. So is it okay for them? That's the second question. And maybe question number three. Well, basically, I know two questions. There are many, could be other questions, but to me, they're not so important. You need to understand these two questions. So the only library, to my knowledge, that do not allow you this is GPL. GNU, it's called GNU Public License. GPL. All other licenses, they are okay with this. So take my code, put it there, package it, and sell it. That's fine. So when you work in a company, when you are a project manager, you should be careful about these kinds of licenses. There are many modifications of them. GPL version 3, GPL version 2, it doesn't matter. What matters is whether the license allows you this. And I was some time ago. I was contracted. I remember that was in California actually. Me and a few people with me. We were contracted by a company who was developing hardware module for testing something. I don't remember, but there was a component which they package and sell to other people, and they had the software which was written by other programmers, and they put there a few open source libraries which had the GPL license. So everything worked fine, but they contracted us to replace the products with the GPL licenses there and replace with something else, or maybe rewrite by our own. So that means that it's a big business, it's a big problem maybe for you as a manager if you don't pay attention to this. So if you in your team, if you develop something and you don't pay attention to which elements you use, which open source components stay in your code, and your code is not open source, then you may get into trouble. So if these people, they find out, for example, the authors of their open source libraries, they find out that you did this, they may sue you, they may go to court, and then you will have to share some part of the profit which you got from selling your product. So every time the smart manager will pay attention to this stuff. Will pay attention which open source elements we have inside our product, and if it's GPL, we need to get rid of them or replace them, or maybe make our product open source as well. In this case, it's okay if you make your product and you use GPL elements there, but your product is also open source. So you give this stuff to other people, but they can see where you took it. So who was actually the author of that? There's a question you're asking. Can I just buy the code under GPL from the owner? Yes, if you know the owner, if they will be ready to sell you the permission, not the code, but they will sell you the license and they will allow you to use their code inside your product, then maybe it will be okay. But I in generally use MIT license or BSD license for my open source code because MIT is the simplest one. So I suggest to when you develop something, I suggest to go for MIT because it's the simplest, the very short piece of text. It just says that the author of the code doesn't guarantee anything. Take it or leave it. It's your own risk. You use it or whatever. I don't care. You can resell it. Just if you modify it, that's the only requirement, I believe. So if you modify my code, then and you give it to somebody, then just keep the license there. So mention that it was my code. So if you redistribute it with your code, then mention that you took it from me. So don't remove my license. That's all. That's the only requirement. And this is the requirement, I believe, to all licenses. Maybe there are some extreme licenses which say use it whatever you do, whatever you want, and even remove my name from it. But most licenses, they will ask you to. And actually, there's another interesting name. So they call this and this, it's called copyright. And this they call copy left. So just remember these two names, copyright, copyleft. Okay, and final question. We have a few more minutes. You're planning to hire a company. Imagine the situation. You need a contractor and you try to organize a tender. So you put 3 companies in a row. So you tell them what it's going to be. And one of them, they offer you a cashback. Well, the normal name is not a cashback. It's basically a bribe. So they are trying to corrupt you. Yeah, bribe, corruption, that's the name. Corruption. It happens. It not only happens with the government people, it happens with real project managers. It happens because the companies, they want to get the contract. They want to get this money from a large company. And you as a project manager, in this case, you are the representative of the large company. So you are in charge of the budget to some extent. Of course, you're not signing the check. You're not sending the money, but they don't need this. They just need you to make the right decision. The right decision. So they want you to tell your managers that this company is better than other companies. And they're ready to pay you for this. They're ready to compensate you for this help. So what do? That's actually a big question. It's a big, difficult question because and that's a question which is in the PMBOK. So when you get prepared for PMP certification and you read the PMBOK, in PMBOK there's a section for this. So they actually ask this question on the exam. So it's not just a funny question. It's a question which is really relevant to our actual work. But in the PMBOK they actually ask it from a little bit different perspective. They're saying, what if you have to pay the bribe? So what if you are one of these 3 companies, and you are in a country where this bribery, this corruption is a status quo situation in the country. So this is all companies, they do it. And you imagine you become a manager of the company and you participate in the tender. So you want this contract to be won, and this company who is paying the money, they will tell you, yeah, how much you're going to pay me? What's the bribe? What's the will you give me the cash back? The people from this company will ask you. So what do you answer in this case? So PMBOK says, we never do this. So we don't pay this money. We don't give this bribe. We don't participate in the corruption. But other people may say that in this case, we're going to get no contracts. So if you do not participate in the corruption, while the entire environment is corrupted, while it's a traditional way of doing business in this territory, for example, and you will be a very professional project manager who is completely against any kind of corruption, then you will be very ineffective project manager. You will have 0 results, 0 contracts. Yes, you will be professional, but no money. So but still, PMBOK insists. PMBOK says, no, no matter what, we just don't do it. And I think it's right, to be honest. I think it's this is the safest and the strongest position, moral position that you can take. But in this question, we are from another side of the fence. So we are now the decision makers, and you have to either accept the cashback, the bribe, or you refuse it. So let's discuss one by one. So if you just refuse it, well, I can give you the right answer. I think this is the right answer. So what will happen after this, in my opinion, should be the responsibility of your organization, not of you, because it affects the entire organization, this situation.
and whether the organization will decide to exclude them from the tender or maybe accept the money or maybe just refuse it, this is the decision which will be made, I believe, should be made outside of your area of responsibility. So if you make it personal, this decision, if you just refuse it and not tell your boss, it's not going to be good, because you never know what these people will tell your boss. Maybe they will maybe they will tell him that you actually accepted the money. You never know. And then it will be very hard to prove the opposite. It will be very hard to say that I didn't, I refused. Yeah, you refused, but remember, we brought this case of money and put it into your office. Don't you remember? It will be very hard for you to argue back. So just refuse quietly and conceal this situation, conceal this information. No good. Definitely not. Exclude them from the tender. Well, it's pretty harsh. Again, maybe this is the traditional way of doing business and they just do it for everybody. They just do it normally, traditionally, and then just offer it to you. Maybe you can just quietly say, we just don't do business this way. It's okay. It's okay that you offered. We don't blame you because that's your traditional way of organizing things here. But we just don't do it. That's it. Let's continue. But it doesn't mean that you are dishonest people. It doesn't mean that you're bad programmers. It just means that the situation where you live is this. We understand it, but we just don't want to be part of it. That's okay. But again, this decision should be made by the organization, not by you personally. So just excluding them from the tender, not a good idea. Accepting the money. Well, again, maybe that's the reality where the company is, and maybe your management will say, yeah, let's just take this money. And like you're saying in the comments, maybe it's just called under budgeting, maybe it's just reducing the cost of the contract. Maybe the organization will say, oh, that's great, they offer us bribe, that's fine, so let's call it bribe, but let's call it discount. If they give us the money, you will accept the money, like personally, but actually the money will go back to your company's account. And that will be perfectly fine. So you will kind of trick them. They will believe that they bribed you, but in reality, you just took a cashback. That's a discount, and everything is fine. It's also acceptable, and maybe the business, the management will decide to make it this way, and they will ask you, yeah, tell them that you will accept the money. That's okay. Let them send you the money, and we're gonna use this money as a discount. So the right answer is here. You don't make the money decisions by yourself. And that's in general, the general rule. So you will work as a project manager and you will deal with money. I'm just finishing this section about procurement. So you will deal with these external contracts. Your job is, number one, is to protect the interests of your company. Protect your company, first of all. And in order to protect your company, you need to be connected with the upper level of management. So all the financial decisions, all the money decisions, you need to transparently transfer to upper level of your management, to your boss. So your boss needs to be sure that you do not hide anything from him, money-wise, money-related questions. And then everything will be fine because he will do the same, or she. They will do the same. They will also transfer this information to upper level, up to the highest level. And if this channel of information will be strongly supported by you, then the organization will be safe. But if you break this channel of communication, if you don't deliver the information to your boss, then the whole company will start shaking. The whole company will be unstable. And the enemies outside of the company, they will understand it. They will see that they talk to you, but you didn't talk to your boss. Oh, that's good. So now they can use you as a weak element of the organization. But if they talk to you and you immediately talk to your boss and the boss talks to the boss and the boss talks to the boss, they just see they cannot do anything with your organization because they try here and the information gets immediately delivered to the upper level. So no point to talking to you. They have to talk to the top management, and top management definitely will protect the company. So your job is to deliver information up, everything you know about finance, everything you have, everything you see that is related to money, you transfer up. I think I told you everything about procurement, everything I know, everything you should know. It's not so difficult, but you should be prepared in your professional life to manage money. That's as important as managing scope, time, cost, risks, quality, and everything else.